Hey everybody, welcome to the program WRSA Radio. I'm your host G1 as always. I hope you're having a good week. It's been quite the roller coaster politically over this last week that we've had. Kind of ups and downs, gives and takes, as they say. I think that we would all benefit from stepping back and taking kind of a collective deep breath and just calming down a little bit and stop being so wild ass all over the map. There's a lot to get into, so let's do it. First off, let's address some ground level basics here. When I say all over the map, what am I talking about? In the political world, we have a spectrum of thought, a spectrum of thinkers, if you will. At one end of the thinking, and this is on both sides of the equation, left and right, the spectrum is often seen as this kind of line from left side thinking to right side thinking, or it's seen as a cross, left and right, and then up and down, like authoritarian, libertarian at the top and bottom, that political quiz kind of thing. But I don't think that really sums it up all that well. It's way more complex than that. So I'm suggesting that we model it, at least in part. This may not encompass the entire aspect of the thing, but I think we should model it as kind of a stack beginning at the bottom on the left and the right with complete idiot non-player characters and rising up to kind of snooty philosophers at the top. And both ends of the stack can be wrong, and both ends can be correct as well. Sometimes the middle is completely off the map. So kind of imagine a bell curve, but oriented vertically, one bell curve on the left, one mirrored opposite on the right, and there's midwits in there in the middle, and complete chuds at the bottom, and philosophers at the top, if you will. So again, just for sort of the political IQ, I guess is maybe what I'm trying to get at there. So, okay, so that's kind of a long way of saying that we've got people on both sides of the debate that are easily swayed by emotions. And while they normally can be counted on to give you, an average opinion, and that opinion is mostly acceptable and normal, if you will, at times they're completely off base and all out of whack. And the total chud at the bottom is the one that's correct. And sometimes the highbrow philosopher at the top of the stack is just too out of touch with reality to deliver sound, practical input on the thing. And, they think too highly of their own opinions to be listened to. We got a lot of all that this week. Okay? Some of the things the chuds are right about, some of the things the philosophers are wrong about. So let's dig into the opinions about the Alex Preti shootings by Homeland Security agents this week. And I've not actually seen exactly which agency it was. I believe it was ICE, but I don't know exactly for sure which agency they actually worked on. Could be multiple agencies. A lot of times Border Patrol and ICE are working together. So at any rate, I digress. After this shooting, we had some people in the administration come out and give us their statements. And from those statements, we had a flurry of people posting their hot takes, which gave us some just complete gems that I'm thinking about as I put this show together. But let's get into Kash Patel kind of being the main one, the main problem, if you will, as he sounds off and suggests that, well, Alex Preti should not have been at that protest with his gun. He shouldn't have brought his gun to the protest, and he should. Then Patel just verbally shat all over himself, kind of inferring that this was somehow illegal, or that he should not have been armed while he was engaging in illegal activities, which is what I think he was actually trying to say. But it sounded a lot like you don't get to have a gun when you're protesting. And I don't think he really believes that. I think Kash is just an idiot. He's just one of these midwits that I'm talking about. Sometimes he's spot on with his take about things, or at least what he's told his take should be. But a good many times he's just speaking out of his feels, and it's just this garbage level position. But anyway, and this was one of those times. I've personally protested while armed in order to have that very law revoked. In Georgia, we had a public gathering law that when there was a public gathering, you couldn't be armed. And that included protests, it included concerts and other public things, which sounded exactly ass backward to anybody with any kind of understanding of the modern world and what rights are. So this is something that I felt was a vital expression of human rights. It was enough that I would go protest for it. And we got that law overturned. We have a right, we always have a right to defend ourselves, and with very limited exceptions, we should have the tools to do so. So that was a bad take, but I think we have to look at all of the statements from the admin and kind of respect that they're dealing, at least what in the beginning was a PR disaster. And it's not unexpected that some of the people would get out ahead of things and make statements that are off base or just not well thought out. It was very, very much a scramble to put things together, kind of get a position in play. And I think the administration did a bad job of that. But that's kind of the nature of some of these incidents. And in the days that followed, there was a lot of walking back of those statements. Trump comes out and says, "No, I'm not talking about infringing on Second Amendment rights, but maybe going down there and protesting while you're armed and getting in a fight was a bad idea." And I don't disagree with that at all. It put a little ointment on the wounds, and I'm not sure it's assuaged every person who got butthurt about it, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out for them. I kind of take the position that you have to listen to actions more than words in these situations, and that's kind of my normal course of action, and one that I recommend to you as well. Now, I'll come back to Alex Preti shortly, but I want to get to one of these other takes, kind of get it out of the way, and kind of compare them to what we know and can speculate about with this situation, because I think it highlights some flaws that we have on the right and how we gauge these situations and kind of how that's utilized against us. I think people take our desire on the right to be consistent in our thinking and our positions, and they try to weaponize that against us. Well, if this is okay for your people, why is it not okay for my people? And they try to draw these comparisons in these situations that really, when you get into it, they're not comparable. They're not the same thing. Context has meaning. It means something. Your motivations, why you are doing something, matters. That's the big thing. And so you can be consistent in what you believe about somebody's right to do something and condemn them for their motivation for doing it. Those are not inconsistent at all. Let me look at one of the highbrow philosophers and his take. James Bavard, who many of you may know, he's been around the scene for a long time, and I like him very much. I've corresponded with him on social media. Concerned American posts a lot of his stuff over on the mothership, on the Western Rifle Shooters page. He's a longtime fixture, okay? In general, I align pretty well with him on a lot of things. He is a hopeless libertarian, but he is exactly what I think of when I say highbrow political philosopher. His thoughts and positions, like a lot of libertarians, they're great ideas, and they come from a great place, a place of genuine moral goodness. He wants to do well. He means well. He means well for everyone. But oftentimes they're at odds with practical application, and they're at odds with human behavior. They look good on paper, but people are people. And that's not to mention that the Libertarian Party, which is not the same thing as libertarian philosophy, the LP these days is just completely infiltrated with degenerates. But I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Anyway, Bavard this week in response compares Alex Preti to the shooting of Vicki Weaver, the wife of Randy Weaver, at the Ruby Ridge incident. He says there are a host of parallels, and if we're outraged by Vicki Weaver, we should be outraged by Alex Preti. I think that's bullshit. I don't agree with that take at all. I'm sorry, Jim, but you're just way off base here, buddy. I think the comparison's in with they were both shot by federal agents on official duty. I think that's pretty much the only comparison that really means anything, that really is consistent and is comparable. There might be some similarities, but the overriding factor in this calculus is that Vicki Weaver was minding her own business, standing in her kitchen. She didn't go looking for government agents and try to cause herself trouble. They came to her. She was sniped from hundreds of yards away by a man that she posed no danger to whatsoever, while she was holding her infant daughter in her arms. Lon Haruchi broke multiple basic firearm standards when he fired on a target he could not clearly identify. He shot her through her door, by the way, and he had no idea what was beyond that target when he took the shot. Alex Preti laid his hands directly on a federal agent. He attempted to stop that agent from enforcing the law by directly assaulting him. And he did this knowing that he was armed. When those agents reacted by attempting to lawfully arrest him, he fought with those agents. And he fought with them knowing that he was armed. The agents wrestle him to the ground, and he continues to resist them. He's fighting them, to keep from being arrested. And he does all this knowing that he is armed and that they are armed. And the agents see his weapon, and then they see him reaching under his jacket while he has an object in his hand. Now, that object was a cell phone. But during this scuffle, the agents have no way of knowing that one of their guys has disarmed Preti, as this is all happening in a very, a flurry of activity, a quick succession. This is like a 1 second time frame here. They see this object in his hand. Somebody had said gun. They're not wasting any time. They defend themselves. That is nothing like the killing of Vicki Weaver. It's absolutely nothing like that. It is not the same. It is not morally the same. It's just a shit take, Jim, and honestly, it's kind of insulting to the Weavers to suggest that it's the same. Even though both of these things should not have happened. I will say that's comparable, sure. Neither of those shootings should have happened. But it's not the fault of government in both of those situations. Ruby Ridge is the fault of the government. They set the conditions. They built the base that they then lit the fire on. Minneapolis is completely the work of the people who want to continue this grift machine. They need this chaos for a variety of reasons, but they want this to stop immigration enforcement. Is that because they care so deeply about the poor, ignorant refugees who just want to pick crops and mow grass? No. It's because they need these illegals to prop up their tax money siphon, the tax fraud, and the election rigging. This is all political and financial manipulation. Let's just get real here. Now, shifting gears a little bit, something has happened, at least at the state level, because for the last 2 evenings, we have seen something that we've not seen to this point. Donald Trump says he had a good, productive call with Tim Walz and Jacob Frey. And then Jacob Frey comes out the next day and says that his city is still not going to cooperate with ICE. Well, that is not the case with the state. Last night and the previous evening, we saw Minnesota State Patrol, as well as, I believe it was University of Minnesota, it might have been University of Minneapolis, I'm not sure which campus it was, but it was campus police officers. They are state-level employees. We saw these two agencies arresting rioters in large numbers. These were the people who tried to trash 2 different hotels. If you remember, if you saw a couple of nights ago, there was believed to be ICE agents staying at a hotel, and so a mob descends on the front of this hotel, and they go in there and they smash up the lobby. And the police did respond, but it took about an hour. That was state police, I believe, State Patrol. They come in there, they arrested some people, they ran off the rest of them. Last night, they're at another hotel. Actually, there was an incident between those 2 incidents. There was a same situation, another hotel. State police show up. They use an LRAD to drive off protesters. Last night, they're at a hotel that is on the border of campus property, and they're trying to do the same thing, and the police kettle a whole group of them into an area and arrested every single one of them. This was like 20, 30 people that they arrested all at the same time. Now, that had not happened until this call took place between Donald Trump and Tim Walz. So people thinking that Trump backed down, he took a lot of flack for this. There was people who said, oh, well, he's capitulated, he's backed off. You know, there was this talk about, well, Greg Bovino's been reassigned, and so that's Trump folding. He's pulled people out. I don't necessarily think that's really what's going on there. I don't really think that's the case. I think it's entirely possible that the opposite may have been at play here. We won't really know until we see kind of how things play out a little bit more. But this could have been Trump saying, you know, hey, things have gone on long enough, and you need to comply here. Okay, this is gonna ramp up, and it's gonna get worse for everybody. Here's what we're looking for, because Trump's always about the deal. You know, he's gonna go in hard and heavy, but he's willing to kind of ratchet it back in order to get what he's really after. So I think he kind of agreed to ramp down the random enforcement that was taking place, where ICE was kind of going around to just different businesses or different places and saying, hey, are you illegal? Are you illegal? Okay, we need to arrest you. I think they're willing to dial that back a little bit, and in exchange, he wants that access to the jails and the prisons to get these hardcore illegal criminals. Whether that stands, whether that targeted enforcement, you know, is all that really they're looking for, or if the random arrests will happen again, I think that just kind of depends on how things play out, what kind of cooperation they get. I think the random arrest is the threat. And I think they like being able to dial that up and dial it back, kind of depending on what kind of response they get from people. I think that's the thermostat or the weapon they're using to kind of turn the heat up, and it forces a lot of people to move, do self-deportations, those kind of things. You may disagree with that. I kind of disagree with that. I think you go full on, no, we're not stopping. We're arresting everybody. We're getting them all out of here. But I can understand why Trump might make that decision. He's getting pushback from the weak rhinos in the Republican Party, these Chamber of Commerce Republicans who still want, this Newt Gingrich types who have been talking about, well, we need to find a way to grant amnesty. No, we don't. But those are the people that he's getting some pushback from. So I think he likes having some kind of tool there that he can turn up or turn down whenever he wants to. I think Tim Walz took the deal. I think Jacob Frey balked at it. So we'll see what happens with it and see how it plays out. It's going to move to another area, another city in the near future. That's the pattern that we've seen, and I don't see any reason why that won't change. Anyway, let's get to Alex Preti directly, because a video surfaced yesterday that shows Alex Preti 11 days before he was shot. It shows him at a different protest, and again, he directly assaults DHS. It begins showing him kicking the vehicle that the agents are riding in. He smashes the rear tail light, which that could be felony destruction of property. If you don't know, those lights can be very expensive. But anyway, the agents jumped out of these SUV and they try to arrest him, and he fights with them. He resists them. And once again, we see in this video that he's not only armed, but he's wearing the exact same clothes that he wore Saturday when he was shot. And he never puts his hands near the gun in this incident, even though, those agents are right to try and arrest him. They see this crowd surging around them and trying to help him get away, and he never tries to reach for that gun or anything. So I think they make a tactical retreat. They pop tear gas and they let Alex Preti go. And I think this planted the seeds in his mind that two things: either he could get away with more, or, and this is the alternative theory that I think is at play here, I think this outcome told Preti that he needed to up his game if he wanted to get the reaction that he was looking for out of these agents. Because I believe, and this is my speculation, this is just me going on gut feeling, I believe that Alex Preti wanted to die for his cause. I think he wanted suicide by cop, and he wanted it to be for something that he felt would benefit others and mean something. That's his belief. That's what he seems to be motivated by. There's some indications that are here kind of in the details if you read between the lines a little bit. He lost his job or quit his job, not clear what, very recently, because of some kind of HR trouble that he was in. He's wearing the same clothing in both of these incidents, almost like he's putting on a uniform for a reason. He's carrying this gun that is known to be defective and potentially go off, and it's a package deal with SIG pistol, SIG optic, and SIG ammunition. It's almost like he just went and said, "Hey, I want a self-defense handgun. Sell me something," and they did, and here's ammo to go with it. Like, he didn't put a lot of thought into that. So it just seems to me like he might be somebody who was depressed and just didn't know how to get out of this situation, and he saw this as kind of a productive outlet. He knew that his death would be exploited for maximum effort by this machine that can't, let a crisis go to waste. And I'm not going to go into all those details anymore down that hole, where I saw them, where I read them, all that. You can look that up on your own. This is just me 60-40 gut feeling kind of thing. And it's just something that I thought I would mention here because I think it explains a lot of things, and because all of this manipulation that is going on. People on both sides of the aisle are trying to build this narrative and drive you into believing something, and they don't care who they have to, how they have to twist reality and downplay consistency to get there. Like I said, it's not inconsistent to believe that Alex Preti had a civil right to protest and be armed while doing it, and to also believe that he made a completely idiotic mistake in thinking that that right to protest gave him carte blanche to assault police officers, with no potential fatal consequences to his actions. When we go into a fight, we cannot labor under the illusion that we risk nothing, that there will be no pushback, and that the weight and might of our righteousness will, somehow overcome the ability or desire or even the right of the other side to fight back and defend themselves. They get a say in the matter. They are making their choice, and they're under the same expectations, but they're going to get a say in the matter. I don't think Alex Preti should have died that day, but I don't fault the agents from believing that they were in danger. And I don't fault them for defending themselves. I would have done the same thing. There's a moral right, and I believe that their actions were in the course of duty that is well within the moral boundaries of the law. In other words, they were acting in support of what is morally right. People who are in this country illegally do not have a right to be here. Our laws provide for their arrest and their deportation, and agents of ICE and Border Patrol are within both the letter of the law and the spirit of the law when they arrest illegals and deport them. And they have a right to defend themselves if they're being attacked for that. Now, that's all I have time for this week. Like and subscribe. Come see us over on Gab, Nice Crew, and the Mothership. And I'll see you on the next episode.